This man I am proud to have worked with now for 4.5 years. He has led us through the most traumatic times and the most pleasurable times, i.e. this week. We've been standing outside the most dangerous of situations, and we've stood with some of the most renowned politicians in the country because of the movement that this man built. Can I have every single one of you on your feet as we gladly welcome our party leader, Paul Golding.
Thank you everyone for that warm reception. Before I start, I just want to thank a few people for their efforts today. I'd like to thank Christine for helping to set things up, doing all of the hard grafting today, so we can have a little round of applause. I'd like everyone to thank Gary Sensical for operating the camera and doing the phones. And I'd like to thank everyone else for coming. I'd like to thank Jake for chipping in today, doing a lot of the donkey work, so a big round of applause for Jake. And I'd like to thank all of you for turning up today, okay? Because this is probably, since we launched this movement, this is the most important meeting we've had. Because this really is the start of our transition from Patriot Street Army to mass political party in this country. And that's what we're aiming for. That's what we're going to do. Look at my face. Look in my eyes. We are going to become Britain's third political party. It will take a lot of work, a lot of hard graft, but I can tell you now, we will get there, okay? I'll come on to a few things about the state of the right wing of politics in this country a bit later on. But as Jada said, I vividly remember in a cold office on the outskirts of Belfast in 2011, all the way back then, sitting there with 3 people. There's me, there was 2 others. We were the founding members of this movement. One is not with us, well, he's had to retire because of ill health. Another one has jacked it in and he's gone off and done other things. So I'm the only one left. But here we are in late 2017, and we are standing on the cusp of great things in this country. Yes. Great things. And the powers that be know it. Yeah. Because they are throwing everything but the kitchen sink at myself and at Jada and at this movement to try and shut us up. But persecution will not work. You name me one revolutionary anti-establishment movement in history that suffered because of persecution. Effectively. None of them. Because when you're persecuted, other people do not like it. And they start to listen to you. And they feel sympathy and support for you. So they join you and get involved. That is why Britain First has got 2 million supporters around the world online. 2 million. If you took every single political party in Britain and took their social media presence and combined them into one, it still would not match the organic support that this movement has achieved in a mere 6.5 years. Wow. I have lost track of the amount of times we've been in the High Court, in the Crown Court, in Magistrates Court. We've had injunctions, we've had restraining orders, we've had huge fines, legal costs, arrests, raids. We've been forced to sign on, we've had dodgy bail conditions thrown at us, we've been prosecuted, we've got convictions. It's not going to work. I don't know who is pushing in the government, in the establishment, in the hierarchy for this campaign of persecution against Britain First. But it's not bloody working, is it?
No.
Because here we are, growing, getting worldwide media attention, and I know for a fact the only scenario that seems reasonable to explain what has happened this week is that the President of the United States, it came across his desk that a citizen in the United Kingdom was going to be facing jail for criticising Islam, and his way of bringing attention to this issue and poking the British government was to do not one retweet, which could be classed as an oversight, but 3 consecutive retweets. They weren't just a retweet. That was him saying to the British government, what the hell are you doing to this woman for just criticising Islam and exercising her right to freedom of speech? Okay? As she said, no doubt about it. Clear all the cobwebs from your head, all the doubts. Because the President of the United States knows what I and her are going through. He knows. That's what this was all about. If it was an oversight, or he didn't know what he was doing, or it was someone else in his staff, or something like that, they would have been deleted, wouldn't they? They stuck to his guns. And he must have said, do not delete those retweets. And it sent the government of this country into a spastic bloody fit, hasn't it? Huh?
We love it.
We turned on the telly and it's questions in Parliament, speeches, angry MPs waving their little fingers at the cameras. Exactly, Steve. I could not put it better myself. Don't worry about Shakespeare and they'll have Do I look particularly bothered about all the name calling and the persecution? Does Jada?
No.
I mean, do I honestly think that one day we're going to go, oh, this is getting too much? Let's jack it in. To be honest, exactly, we love it, we thrive on it. Because when I was 16 and I first got involved in patriotic politics in this country, I made an oath, a decision that's just been with me ever since. I said, I'm not having this anymore. Okay, and it's as simple as that. As a man, I will give up my life, I will sacrifice my freedom, I will sacrifice my own future to build a future for future generations of our people. That's all that matters to me. Yeah. So when the government comes along and starts to persecute me or Jada, when they try to arrest us and we're subjected to SAS-style ambushes when we're going down a country lane, you know, all of this is just confirming in our minds that what we are doing is right and correct, and we will never stop. It was 2 weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago, 2 Islamic jihadis were sent to Belmarsh for a very long time for planning and plotting to behead me. They even purchased a little, like, dummy type thing so they could practice chopping its head off in preparation for grabbing me. And I've said this time and time again in speech after speech. If you want my head, I would gladly tell you where I will be at a certain time and place, and you can come and get it. But But I tell you now, I ain't no muck. You will not be walking away with my head, and that is a fact. This is what this movement's all about. We're not interested in conventional politics. We're not interested in the electoral rat race, which has tangled up every other political party for so long, okay? People don't want that anymore. People don't want this smooth talking, you know, pinstripe. I've got pinstripe on, but you know, people don't want the smooth talking, you know, super executive look. They don't want all of that. They want Trump. They want Marine Le Pen. They want Farage. They want Britain First. That's why do you think we've bypassed the British media and we've built up such a huge organic reach online? You see, what happens is when the Sun newspaper, when they publish a story, they print the newspaper and it goes out there into circulation. 1.5 million a day copies go into circulation. When we put up a story on our Facebook, Twitter network, okay, we get seen by like 40 million people a week. Britain First has built its own media, its own reach. We reach the people ourselves. We completely bypassed the rotten, controlled mass media. Exactly the same what Trump did. with his Twitter and Facebook and that. He went around, he bypassed the power of the mass media. And we never had this before, did we? It was only 2004 before Facebook really took off, and Twitter shortly after. So these new tools are allowing us to build our own media empires, our own way of reaching tens of millions of people every single month. And it's working, because here we are, reaching tens of millions of people. We reach more people every month than the BBC, for God's sake. And that's not an exaggeration, we do. If you look at their total viewing figures for every programme, every channel, every radio station for a whole month, it does not compare to what we reach. We're a bigger corporate media entity than the BBC. And this is God's gift to people like us to bypass the controlled, old-style corporate mass media, and we're reaching the people ourselves. And so are many other people out there. So the persecution is not going to work. Okay? It doesn't matter whether jihadis come flying through our windows or whether police come flying through our doors, kick our doors off. It's not going to work, but they're still trying it because they're trying to deter other people from getting involved. But it's not. It's not at all. Because you've seen it all in the newspapers. Our membership numbers are through the roof. People are donating in their thousands to help us with our legal fees, our legal costs to build a legal defence. Okay? She's facing prison on 2 separate trials coming up. I'm facing prison for harassing the Ramsgate rapists. Read that. We're actually living in a country now where nearly 2,000 underage young girls get ignored and no one's prosecuted for nearly 2 decades in Rotherham. But me and Jada walk up to a few convicted migrant child rapists, say a few harsh words on their doorstep, and we're facing prison. That's the kind of country we're living in now. Yeah? All you see in the media is a facade of democracy, a facade of everything's great in Britain. It is nonsense, because if you peel that away, then what you're left with is the Rotherhams, the Rochdales, all the other problems in this country. You're left with her going to prison, me going to prison. You're left with, we are now a minority in London. You're left with, we're going to be a minority in Birmingham very shortly. All over the country, our country's being colonised, taken over by mass immigration. It's called the Great Replacement. We're being pushed out of our own towns and cities. And behind the scenes even further, you've got radical extremist mosques everywhere. You've got hate preachers on every street corners. You've got 20, by estimates, official estimates, 23,000 known wannabe jihadis walking the streets of Britain. You've got over 500 people who've returned from Syria after fighting for ISIS. That's what's really going on in our country. That's the real Britain that we have to deal with. On top of that, you know, we're being taxed out of our mind. Our public services are going to end up in ruins. We've got a third world NHS. Our kids leave school, don't know how to read and write, can't even add up using their fingers. That's the real Britain, ladies and gentlemen, not the rubbish, this fake universe that you see on TV. And it's up to us to build, and that's all we should concern ourselves with. People are too obsessed with the end result. How are we going to take power and do things? How are we going to, save our country? All we need to worry ourselves with is right now. We need to build a mass movement in this country. We have to survive. Because sooner or later, just like in Northern Ireland, it's going to go, and you're going to have peace walls everywhere, you're going to have soldiers on the streets, you're going to have terrorist groups everywhere. That's what Britain is heading for. It's not heading for some glorious, harmonious, multicultural society where everyone lives in peace and harmony, except for a few white nationalist, extremist, racist on the fringe. Okay? We are heading for civil, bloody war in this country. We are heading for a Northern Ireland situation. Blood on the streets, thousands, tens of thousands being killed in civil strife. And if you don't believe me, look at areas that are where you have a huge Islamic population. Look at Syria. Syria actually was a very multicultural nation. You had a huge population, a huge percentage of the population was Christian, you had all different other religious minorities. Islam barely made up 40-50%. That's what the Syrian civil war was all about. It was a power grab by Islam. We are going to take over the whole of this country, we're going to Islamise it, turn it into a Sharia state, just like Libya. Okay? Another intervention that went horribly wrong. So all this persecution of me and Jada and our movement is never going to work. Okay? It's only going to strengthen us. And if she goes to prison, if I go to prison, the very day that we come out, the struggle continues and resumes. And even while we're in prison, it's going to upset enough people that we've actually been sent down. Yeah, there's going to be an absolute deluge of new activists, new members, new donors, new blood into this movement of ours. People are going to be absolutely livid. That in a country where no one, hardly anyone, has been prosecuted for what happened in Rotherham, 2 political leaders are being sent down for criticising Islam and harassing a group of migrant rapists who, in effect, are doing 14 years apiece in a prison because they was convicted. That's the kind of country we live in. It's not going to be easy. Me and Jada know full well what we've got coming. We've studied other leaders like Gert Wilders, for example, who literally lives out the back of a car because he has in a new safe house every single night. We know what's coming, okay? We're going to be, forget being on the run in Europe, we're going to be on the run in the UK within a few years. The pressure already is becoming immense. But it's not going to break us, ever. It's not going to slow us down, it's not going to break us. In fact, as Christians, our entire mindset is in a sick and diseased world, which is how the Bible describes the world we live in. If you're not in trouble, if you're not being persecuted, if you're not drawing the enmity of the forces of evil in this world, then you're not doing a good job as a Christian. Okay? That's the way we live. You know, Jesus Christ and his disciples went through this same kind of process. And he said to them, this is Jesus Christ, the Son of God, said, if the world hates you, remember that it hated me first. Okay? And very shortly I'm getting that tattooed on my arm, because that's all I'm about. Okay? The more I see, as Jada said, people who are destroying and dismantling and betraying a whole nation, whole peoples, whole histories, pointing their finger of condemnation at people like Jada and I. The more that happens, the stronger we become in our minds. Okay? The more resolute we become, more determined to face them. And we get called all the time, and we've been called it a lot this week. You know, we're a hate group. We're all about hate. Yes, you are right. We are all about hate. Hate for the white politicians who betrayed this country. Hate for the white journalists who are brainwashing our people. That's who we hate. We don't hate ethnic minorities. We don't hate anyone apart from the politicians and the media and the traitors. They're the ones that we hate, and one day you will receive your day of reckoning for undermining and committing treason against our country. One day. They might feel strong now. They might feel like they can trample on our civil rights. Our birthright that's been handed down to us by our ancestors who died in their millions, in the trenches, in the skies, on the seas, in the mud, all across the world, in battlefield after battlefield, for one damn reason, and that is to save this country and make it the land of the free, the home of democracy. If they think, these people, the politicians, the journalists, who are betraying our country right now, 24/7, are making careers out of undermining our nation state, if they think that they are going to live a long and happy life, then they are sorely mistaken. Because the one thing I like about London, when I go down there, I go to the Tower of London, when I look down on the river and I see Traitors Gate, and I think to myself, one day the likes of Tony Blair and David Cameron and all these other treacherous scum are going to be going through that gate to receive justice. And they say that we're extremists. Yes, we damn well are, because it's an extreme situation. As I said, if you turn off the TV or the radio, what you're left with is the sorry state of our country and our children's future. Okay? It's an extreme situation. Okay? Theresa May is an extremist because she's flooding the whole country with millions of immigrants and changing the composition, the nature, the future of that country. That's extreme. Loving your country is not extreme. Fighting to preserve your country is not extreme. Fighting to honour the memory of your ancestors is not extreme. So these stupid, politically loaded labels, they can all get stuffed. Because we wear them like a badge of honour. And we always will. And my favourite politically loaded label, Islamophobic. Well, you'll probably all see the image that we put up on Facebook 2 nights ago. Islamophobic and proud. They seem to think that we're going to recoil in horror if they call us this name. They can get stuffed, quite frankly, because yes, I am Islamophobic. I have got a phobia of FGM, of Muslim grooming gangs, of terrorism, of hate preachers, of terror groups. Of all of the terror attacks, think about the number of terror attacks that have happened in the last two years. Think about it. Orlando, the attack on the Canadian Parliament, the siege in Sydney, the attacks in Paris, the Bataclan, people getting run down in Nice, the Berlin market attack, the guy, the lunatic. Sweden, Stockholm, there's St. Petersburg, wasn't it? Barcelona, Brussels Airport. I am losing track. Okay, and if it's Islamophobic to care or to be worried or to be frightened about those type of things, then yes, I am Islamophobic and proud. Britain First, because of the dominance of UKIP and Nigel Farage in British politics, has always gone down the road of being a street protest group, essentially. We've focused all our energies in being active on the streets, protests, confrontations, invasions, all sorts of things like that, to grab people's attention, say, look at this problem, and then we go over there and we confront it. It's giving millions of people hope. The one thing that people do when they come up to me and Jada in the street, and they do it all the time, is they say, wow, you are brave, you lot. You're very brave, you're very courageous, and we just, you know, compared to what my great-grandfather went through at the Battle of Dunkirk, compared to what your grandfather went through in the Second World War, it's nothing really, is it?
No.
Our people are so soft now that they think what Britain First does is something extremely special. I just see it as business as usual, doing my duty. Just like a soldier would do, just get on with it. Okay? But up till now, we have focused primarily on being a street protest group by carrying out actions everywhere, in many different shapes and forms. Whether we're walking down Brick Lane, whether we're standing outside the East London Mosque, everywhere we go, we are challenging Islamic extremist problems. Okay? But the time has come in this country, because there's a vacuum in British politics. There's a vacuum. The old British National Party, they've got 2 seats in the European Parliament, is gone. It's folded, it's finished, it's evaporated. Okay? That's a fact. United Kingdom Independence Party have lost their modus operandi, they've lost their reason for being. Okay? Farage has gone. Don't even know who this latest jellyfish leader is. Henry Bolton. Who's ever heard of him before?
Liberal.
His first pronouncement when he came into the UKIP leadership was to say, we are not going to challenge Islam. We are not going to become an anti-Islam party. Remember that next time you go into the ballot box, when there's terror attacks, when they're scraping children off of Manchester Arena. You remember what the current leader of the ever-shrinking, ever-disintegrating UKIP said. Okay? So what are we left with? If you're in this country, like the millions and millions of people that are here, proud British people, who do you vote for? Who is really going to go up there and say, we are against all immigration because we're a tiny, overcrowded island with barely enough space and resources for our own people? Why do we need millions of people to come here continually while we've got millions of unemployed of our own? Who's going to get up there on Question Time or Newsnight or the BBC and say that? Because I know the people who are running UKIP aren't. UKIP's disintegrating, it's becoming irrelevant. Who's even seen Henry Bolton on TV since he took Egypt?
Question time.
It was on Question Time. Well, I don't watch Question Time because I end up having a hernia. Borderline aneurysm every time I watch Question Time. But no, who have people got to vote for in this country? If you're worried about the growth of radical Islam and mosques and halal in schools and Muslim education in schools, who do you vote for? Who do you vote for if you're really worried? We are taking off like a rocket. The very, very intelligent people who walk the corridors of the intelligence services in this country are looking and calculating and assessing what our movement is doing, what our potential is, and what the state of the political landscape is in this country. And they are terrified of this movement. And do you know what? It puts a huge smile on my face that the government is worried. And they'll be even more worried now because the likes of Donald Trump have signified that they at least know very slightly what's going on with me and Jada. They know what's going on. That's why he retweeted 3 times consecutively. Okay? This movement is sitting on the verge of great things. And all we need to do is keep going. We've got the formula correct. Protests, elections, social media. We are eons ahead of any other political force in this country. You would not believe the technology behind the scenes, the databases, the systems we use to send out text messages and emails and collect data and turn that data into consolidated members. This is what we're all about. Behind the scenes, there is a very complex, sophisticated machine at work. Okay? And it's building us a huge support base around the world. And that's all we're doing, is we should keep collecting and collecting and collecting and collecting people and supporters and then consolidating them until we are a huge mass movement, and we're on the cusp of that. And like I said, our overseas links are growing, doors are opening left, right and centre. Not just in the West, but also in the East. You saw Jada on the streets of Wrocław in Poland a few weeks ago, where she's marching along with 10,000 Poles, all screaming, "We want God, we want God!" And she is at the front, and she's a guest speaker. All of these people love Britain First. They admire Britain First. In France, in Belgium, everywhere, our influence, our skills, our achievements are being recognised, and they're being copied. And there's people all across Europe are asking us to come and see if we can revamp and renovate their party machines. And I look forward to spreading all the skill sets we've accumulated over many, many years of hard struggle all across the continent. And the security services know all of this. They know they've got a real monster on their hands in this country. That's where they're trying to snuff out very early any hope that we can really take off. That's what these charges are all about. This country needs your effort right now. This country needs grabbing by the scruff of the neck right now. We need to fill that political vacuum in this country. Excuse me! We need to fill that political vacuum in this country. Okay? We're going to stand in our first major election campaign next year. We're going to be standing for anywhere between 30 and 50 candidates in the local elections next year. And by hook or by crook, we will be getting our first Britain First councillors elected in this country. That is going to happen. So just to end up, if you love your country, you have come to the right place. Think about the sacrifice of your parents and grandparents and great-grandparents to build, secure a future for this country, to hand it down to you, future generations. It's your duty now to save this country. We are in World War III. It's not going to have a start and a finish. It's going to be a slow-burning, gradually developing street conflict all over this country. We're going to lose control of our country. We are. It's going up in Northern Ireland with peace walls and total chaos and carnage and blood on the streets. That is your future. Get used to it and look forward to it, because that is what's going to happen. And I can tell you now that Britain First will always be there as the front line for our people. And if they send us to jail, we'll come straight back out and we will carry on. separates us and you from all them treacherous, self-serving career politicians at Westminster. They have got not a drop of love or loyalty for their own country. That's what separates us from them, because every person here, every person who's ever joined this movement, the millions of people who support us out there, would give their lives for a future for our children. That is what we stand for, and that is what we are